Novastorm is a game produced by Psygnosis back in the early days of CD-ROM technology. The game was initially available on the Sega CD, and I believe there was a PC version. There was also a PlayStation version of the game, but today I'm looking at the version of the game I have, which is for the 3DO. Now, like many games of its ilk at the time, this game relied heavily on utilising CD-ROM's newfangled full-motion video technology to give us pre-rendered streaming backgrounds with sprites overlaid to create the action. And, as with many other titles, such as the similarly styled Rebel Assault, this game is a rail shooter. You have limited control around the screen, and you're shooting things. So, without further ado, let's actually have a look at the game and see exactly what it's like. So, here we go. As usual, I have recorded this footage using the Project Phoenix emulator just for convenience, but it runs exactly the same as it does on original hardware. Now, as you can see, everything looks quite typical of a game of this period. The FMV isn't exactly the superb quality you'd expect today, but it is a significant step up from what was available on the Mega CD, which was what most console gamers had the choice of at the time, apart from this. And it's probably about on a par with the PC version, depending, of course, on the specs of your PC. Now, the intro does go on a bit, so I am going to skip it and get us straight through. You get this nice little sort of start credits, and then we head off into the very basic menu screen, and we're just going to get straight in here. Again, more pre-rendered FMV. Now, I will say, the pre-rendered FMV is done really well. At the time, Psygnosis, who would obviously go on to be better known for their Wipeout series on the PlayStation, were pretty much at the forefront of these FMV streaming games. They spent a lot of time producing these games, and they were really good with them. Now, as you can see, we've got a few samples here. These are the enemies you're going to be taking out. And yeah, they're enemies. What more can you say? But in a second, we shall get to some gameplay as it's doing this. And here we go. This is your ship. A little bit of information about yourself. Again, some nice graphics. A nice little bit of a starfield and space here. You can see the animation's basic. As I said, this was the early days of this pre-rendered CG technology being used in video games. And, you know, things were not necessarily all done to the highest standard that we would expect today, although it was a high standard for the time. Now, here you go. As you can see, it's fairly basic. You've got a pre-rendered sprite for your ship, you have some pre-rendered opponents there, a streamed background, which admittedly looks very nice, especially if you'd played the Sega CD version, which looked frankly terrible compared to this. Oh, power up. And there you go. This is the game, in essence. You scroll into the screen on this pre-rendered video, shooting the sprites that are thrown at you, and you know, it's not bad as this type of game goes. The controls handle nicely, the graphics look decent, the sound's pretty good. Every so often in each level you get this little sort of cutscene as you move on to the next phase of the level. Bit of a trench run theme going on here. And yeah, it's a pretty good game. Obviously, much like Rebel Assault, as I've already mentioned, this game's very similar in how it plays. If you hit the sides or the top or the bottom of the pre-rendered level, you will take damage. The screen can get quite full here, which can be a bit challenging because it can be quite difficult to judge at times exactly where you're shooting and what you're shooting at. And here's sort of a boss battle. It's quite difficult to judge how you're doing with these boss fights at times because you've got no sort of obvious visual indicator as to the boss's health or anything. You're just going through the level, shooting it. But yeah, it's a responsive game. Now, I have no idea why I died here. I'm guessing it's because I hadn't done enough damage to the boss in time. And it just sends you back into the level and away you go. So that's a brief look at Novastorm on the 3DO. Overall, if I was to give this game a mark out of 10, I'd say it's a fairly solid 7 out of 10. Yes, the interactivity is limited due to it being a on-rails shoot with pre-rendered backgrounds, but as this type of game goes, it's pretty damn playable. It's smooth, it's responsive, it looks good, it sounds good, and to be fair, there's a lot worse out there. I personally find Rebel Assault, and I keep going back to that one, a far more frustrating game to play than this. So if you've got a 3DO or even a PlayStation or a Mega CD, give this one a try. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. Anyway, thanks for watching this video today. I've been Learned Rob. This has been 81632-bit. If you've enjoyed this video, hit like, hit subscribe, ring that bell. If not, well, such is life. Anyway, this is Rob saying so long, and I'll see you next time.